RAF Marham, Norfolk, January 30th, 1943. 8:45 in the morning. 3 aircraft climb away from the frozen grass and turn east. Each one carries 2 men. Each one carries a bomb bay full of high explosive. Each one carries no guns at all. Not one. And every inch of them, fuselage, wings, tail, is made of wood. In the lead aircraft sits squadron leader Reggie Reynolds. Beside him sits a navigator named Ted Sismore, who is about to find Berlin the way sailors once found continents. Now set a second clock. Berlin, 10:55. Inside the Air Ministry on the Wilhelmstrasse, technicians are checking a microphone. At 11 exactly, Hermann Göring will speak to the entire German Reich, live, on every station, to mark 10 years of National Socialist power. Göring, who once promised that no enemy aircraft would ever fly over the Reich. If one ever does, he said, you can call me Meyer. 2 clocks, one in Norfolk, one in Berlin, both running toward 11. At 11, the bombs fall, from 25,000 feet, right on the minute. The microphone goes dead, and it stays dead for the better part of an hour, while radio sets across Germany hiss with empty air. Hold that image, because this is not a story about a raid. This is a story about why the finest metallurgical engineers on Earth, the nation that invented the all-metal airplane, could not catch a machine glued together out of wood by furniture makers. The answer is not aerodynamics. It is permission, glued. Remember that word. Glue will come back at the end of this story, and when it does, it will bring down an airplane. Germany was desperate to build. Remember this, too. The British Air Ministry rejected this airplane 3 times, and that same afternoon, 3 more crews will lift off from that same frozen field, and 2 of those men will not come home. To understand any of it, you have to go back, not to 1939, to a workshop in Dessau, Germany, in 1915. Part 1. The Metal Gospel, Dessau, Germany, 1915. In a machine shop on the edge of town, an engineer named Hugo Junkers builds the world's first all-metal airplane. He wants to build it from duralumin, the miracle aluminum alloy. But duralumin in 1915 flakes and cracks when it's rolled into sheets, so Junkers builds his airplane out of heavy electrical steel. Transformer steel, the military nicknames it the Tin Donkey. It flies anyway. By 1918, the alloy problem is solved. His DI fighter is skinned nose to tail in corrugated duralumin. The future is metal. Germany spends the next 30 years proving it. The Messerschmitt 109, the Focke-Wulf 190, the Heinkel 111, the Junkers 88. Every operational aircraft in the Luftwaffe, aluminum stressed skin monocoque, the product of the great German aviation laboratories and decades of metallurgical research. By 1937, German universities are producing more aeronautical engineers per year than the rest of Europe combined. The technical colleges at Stuttgart, at Braunschweig, at Berlin teach stressed skin theory as the only serious way to build a combat airplane. Students write dissertations on rivet load distribution. Nobody writes a dissertation on plywood. Plywood is for boat builders. The doctrine runs like a proof. High performance requires strength-to-weight efficiency. Strength-to-weight efficiency requires aluminum monocoque. Therefore, any airplane built of wood is a relic, a museum piece with a propeller. The doctrine is complete. It is taught, examined, certified, and enforced. And it is exactly 4 years out of date, because in the summer of 1938, in Hatfield, England, an old man is writing a letter. His name is Geoffrey de Havilland. He has been building airplanes since before most of those German graduates were born, and the firm carries his family's name. In July 1938, he writes to Air Marshal Sir Wilfrid Freeman at the British Air Ministry, and the letter makes a heretic's argument. War is coming. When it comes, aluminum will be rationed. The skilled metal workers will be drafted, but wood will still be there. So will the furniture makers, the coach builders, the boat yards, ready to turn to aircraft work in a matter of weeks. Where Germany needs an aluminum rolling mill, Britain needs a glue pot. The Air Ministry reads the letter. The Air Ministry says no. They say no again in October 1938. They say no again in 1939. The ministry wants bombers bristling with gun turrets, crewed by 7 men. De Havilland is offering the opposite. 2 men, no guns, made of wood. 1 officer's recorded judgment, unlikely to survive contact with the enemy. Hold on to that sentence. It has an appointment with history. De Havilland builds it anyway. In October 1939, 8 designers, under a quiet engineer named R.E. Bishop, move their drawing boards into Salisbury Hall, a moated 17th century manor house north of London. They are not hiding from the Germans. They are hiding from their own government. They are right to hide. In the summer of 1940, Lord Beaverbrook, the Minister of Aircraft Production, orders the project stopped. Freeman simply never passes the order on. Around the ministry, men start sneering at the whole affair as Freeman's folly. The folly is about to fly, and the ministry that rejected it 3 times is about to write Part 2. Speed from a glue pot. Here is what the heretics actually built. The fuselage is a sandwich. 2 skins of birch plywood, each about a 1/16 of an inch thick, wrapped around a 1/2 inch core of balsa wood from Ecuador, the stuff of model airplanes, and bonded with glue. The whole shape is formed over a mold in 2 half shells. Like a canoe, join the halves, and you have a tube light enough for 2 men to lift, and, pound for pound, stronger than anything in the Luftwaffe's inventory. The one-piece wing is Sitka spruce, the same timber American builders prize, skinned in plywood. And into that wooden frame go 2 Rolls-Royce Merlin engines from Derby, the same heart that beats in the Spitfire. 2 of them, carrying 2 men, no guns, no armour, and a bomb bay. On November 25th, 1940, at 3:45 in the afternoon, Geoffrey de Havilland Jr., the old man's son, the firm's chief test pilot, takes it off the grass at Hatfield. He flies it for half an hour. 3 months later, February 19th, 1941, the prototype arrives at Boscombe Down for official government trials. The trial reports record 392 miles per hour at 22,000 feet. The fastest Spitfire then in service is doing 360. Read that again. The unarmed wooden bomber is 32 miles per hour, faster than Britain's frontline fighter, but that is only the beginning. Fit 2-stage supercharged Merlins, and the airplane keeps climbing away from its own legend. One converted machine, serial MP469, is tested at 408 miles per hour at 27,800 feet, with a ceiling of 43,000. Those numbers sit in an official establishment report, not a memoir, a measurement, and the German fighters sent up after it, at those heights and speeds, are all but helpless. Britain has its miracle. Now it needs 10,000 of them, and no aluminum to spare. The answer to that problem is not a factory. It is a town, High Wycombe, Buckinghamshire, population, about 30,000. For 200 years, the men of this town have done one thing better than anyone in England. They have turned the beech woods of the Chiltern Hills into chairs, Windsor chairs, dining chairs, chairs their fathers made, and their fathers before them. By the 1930s, the firms carry names like E. Gum, Parker Knoll, Stiles and Mealing, Dancer and Hearn, craftsmen who can shape and laminate hardwood to 1/1000th of an inch because a wobbly chair leg is bad for business. In 1941, the contracts arrive from de Havilland, and the town that made chair legs starts making wing spars, the same heated presses, the same steady hands. In the yard at Stiles and Mealing, a photograph survives, a finished Moskito fuselage on trestles, surrounded by women in headscarves, hired off the line to file timber to specification. Their names are mostly lost. Their work went to Berlin. Roughly 5,000 of the 7,781 Moskitos built worldwide would contain parts made in High Wycombe. Chairmakers built a bomber force. This is the thing Germany could not copy. Not the glue, not the plywood. Britain had a tradition of tinkerers, of family firms, of amateurs in sheds, and a ministry rebel willing to look the other way while they worked. If your father, your grandfather, your uncle worked in wartime woodworking or flew with Bomber Command, put their name and their unit in the comments. That is how the memory survives. But the story of January 30th, 1943 is not finished, because that afternoon, 3 more Mosquitoes took off from Marham. Part 3. The afternoon of that same day. Marham, Norfolk, 1:25 in the afternoon. The morning crews are not even home yet. Their engines are still 10 minutes out when 3 more Mosquitoes lift off from the same field and turn east. These are from 139 Squadron, the one they call the Jamaica Squadron. Their target is the afternoon rally at the Berlin Sportpalast, where Joseph Goebbels is due at the microphone. The plan is the same arrogant arithmetic as the morning, arrive on the minute, bomb on the speech. In one of the 3, serial DZ367, sits Squadron Leader Donald Darling, Distinguished Flying Cross. He is 24 years old, a Londoner. Beside him, and in a Moskito, the navigator sits beside the pilot, shoulder to shoulder, close enough to touch, sits Flying Officer Bill Wright. He is 34, from Bedford, a pilot young enough to be the navigator's kid brother, and a navigator old enough to have a wife named Beatrice waiting at home. They reach Berlin. They bomb on time. Goebbels speaks over the thud of explosions and the bark of anti-aircraft fire, pretending not to hear either one. But this time, Berlin is awake. The morning raid has seen to that. The gunners are at their pieces, and the sky over the capital is full of steel. On the run home, the flak finds DZ367. She goes down near Altengrabau, 50 miles southwest of Berlin. The Moskito was a wooden airplane, and wooden airplanes burn. Donald Darling and Bill Wright flew side by side. They are buried side by side in the Commonwealth War Cemetery on the Heerstrasse in Berlin. The city they silenced holds them still. Now open the ledger, because their story needs its context. Loss rate per sortie, Bomber Command, Sterling, 3.8%, Halifax, 2.6, Lancaster, 2.13. The Moskito, across all its bombing rolls, under 1%. Read that again. The airplane with no guns was the safest airplane in Bomber Command. If you want the names Darling and Wright to stay visible a little longer, a like does that? It costs nothing. They paid more. Under 1%, but never 0. And the men who flew inside that number kept spending their luck like it would never run out. Remember Reggie Reynolds and Ted Sismore, the 2 who silenced Göring's microphone in January? On May 27, 1943, they are back in the lead aircraft, taking Moskito's 1,100 miles round trip into the heart of Germany, to the Zeiss Optical Works at Jena. On the final run, visibility drops to half a mile. They fly it at 50 feet. 50. A light flak shell bursts inside Reynolds' cockpit and wounds him, and he flies the airplane home anyway. Sismore, the navigator beside him, will go on to guide the Moskito raids on the Gestapo headquarters at Aarhus and then Copenhagen, the same 2 men, over and over. The airplane kept asking, they kept saying yes. And at night, the same wooden airframe becomes a hunter. Brance Burbridge of 85 Squadron, registered as a conscientious objector when the war began. A Bible-class man who could not square killing with his faith. Then his brother Jarvis, a Bomber Command flyer, was shot down and marched into a prison camp. Brance changed his mind. On the night of November 4th, 1944, in a single sortie, he downs a Messerschmitt 110 and 3 Junkers 88s, 4 in one night. By war's end, 21 night victories, the Allied record, and this record holder aimed, always, for the wings, never the cockpit. I never wanted to kill anyone, he said. Remember him. He comes back at the very end of this story. The same airplane blew open the walls of Amiens prison in February 1944. 19 Moskitos at 50 feet, 258 resistance prisoners running free, and the bill was 2 Moskitos, 2 escorting Typhoons, and Group Captain Percy Pickard, the movie-famous face of the RAF, dead in a field beside Bill Broadley, his navigator through more than 100 sorties, cut down by the Focke-Wulf of Feldwebel Wilhelm Meyer, France asked that Pickard be given the Victoria Cross. Legends fall too. Berlin was counting on it. Berlin counted wrong. Balfour. Germany looks in the mirror. On a desk in Berlin, in front of Field Marshal Erhard Milch, sits a number. In its first 600 bombing sorties, the Mosquito has been lost exactly once. Onze. The bombers Germany knows how to shoot down are dying at 5%. Milch does not need a slide rule to see what that means. He demands a German answer. A purpose-built Moskito of their own. First comes the rage. March 18th, 1943, at Carenhall, Göring's hunting estate in the Schorfheide forest, the Reichsmarschall summons the heads of his aircraft industry, Messerschmitt among them, and flays them for 6 hours. As the minutes record it, he tells them the Mosquito drives him mad, that he turns green and yellow with envy over a wooden airplane every piano factory in England can build. Why keep searching for an answer, he demands. Build the Mosquito. Sit with that. The man who swore you could call him Meyer if a single enemy plane crossed the Reich is now begging his engineers to copy furniture. Germany tries. Kurt Tank of Focke-Wulf designs the TA-154 and names it Moskito. Tank himself takes the prototype up on July 1st, 1943. It is promising, and it is held together by one thing, a phenolic glue called Tegofilm, made by the Goldschmidt firm at a single plant in Wuppertal. In 1943, the Royal Air Force flattens Wuppertal. Heavy bombers drop the bombs, but the pathfinders marking the way for them are Mosquitoes. The Mosquito guided the bombs that killed the Mosquito. The substitute glue is acidic. It eats the plywood from the inside. In July 1944, wings start coming off in flight. In August, production stops, and it cannot be fixed, because Germany has no High Wycombe. Its woodworking tradition was pushed aside by the metal gospel back in 1918. The skills are gone. Göring even raises 2 special fighter wings to hunt mosquitoes, JG-25 and JG-50. Gallen's memoir renders the verdict practically powerless. The doctrine was right on paper. The paper was not flying the airplane. Part 5. The verdict. Return to the sentence from 1939. Unlikely to survive contact with the enemy. That was the official judgment on an unarmed wooden bomber. Here is what survival looked like. From February 20th to March 27th, 1945, Mosquitoes stood over Berlin for 36 consecutive nights. 36. Night after night, to the most defended city in Europe, and home again. Against that, set one night, March 30th, 1944, Nuremberg, when the heavy bomber force lost 95 Lancasters and Halifaxes before sunrise. The airplane that could not survive contact with the enemy survived 5 years of it, and finished the war with the lowest loss rate in bomber command, not because of the wood, because of the people who were allowed to build it. But numbers don't end wars. People do. Years afterward, Brance Burbridge, the night fighter ace who always aimed for the wings, invited a guest to address his pilots. Major Wilhelm Herget, the German ace Burbridge, had shot down. The man who fired to spare a life shook hands with the man who lived because of it. That handshake is the real verdict. Remember them. Geoffrey de Havilland, who would not take no. His son, who flew the prototype and died in 1946 testing his father's next design. Freeman, who disobeyed. Bishop, who drew the lines beside a moat. Reynolds. Sismore, who found Berlin through cloud and lived to be 90. Darling and Wright, side by side. Pickard and Broadley, and the chairmakers of High Wycombe, whose names are gone but whose work flew. Germany measured the future in alloy. Britain measured it in glue. The glue held. If you want the next chapters, the Pathfinder Force, and the codebreakers who read the German night fighter signals that should have caught the Mosquito and never did, subscribe. These stories only survive if someone stays to hear them.